today we have Aysia Hilliard with us today. And if you don't know about Aysia, we're going to tell you about her and her chapsticks. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, and so she can share with us what it was like launching her brand and growing her brand as an emerging entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur, and as a, of course, black woman in business. And she's going to share with us. And for those of you who are thinking about maybe launching something, maybe on the verge of launching something, maybe you can take a few things from Aysia and apply that, or maybe be inspired by her to maybe pull the trigger on what you have coming up. So Aysia, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your brand.
Yeah, so I am currently 21, just turned 21 in December. I go to Howard University. I'm a third year, so I'm a junior there. I study biology and I'm also a chem minor. So I do have quite a bit of work and stuff, but I don't know if I've said, but I'm also from Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I'm.
Okay.
But I live in DC now because of school, of course. But
cool.
Yeah, that's just a little bit, I guess, about my little personal bio.
No problem. That's cool. It's funny you said Atlanta. I didn't realize you were actually from here. I'm actually in Georgia.
Oh, really?
In the Atlanta area. I actually relocated from New York City. So, and I'm now been about 3 years here in Georgia. I'm loving it here. Loving it here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I know you did say a little bit about yourself, but you didn't tell us about your brand.
Yes.
Talk to us about chapstick.
Yes. So I actually started my business. I came up with the idea in December of 2017. So I was 17, freshly 17 at the time. And while I did have the business, running, I guess, it wasn't really doing very much of anything until I came to TikTok in July of 2020. So yeah, for me, it really is, that's kind of like the start of my real business experience. But those years prior to TikTok were very, very important. And I also accredit it to a lot of the reason why my start on TikTok was so, I guess, great. Because I had already had all of my foundation laid. Yeah, so while I wasn't popular, while I didn't have sales, it had the potential to be that, which is why when I did post my very first video and that first video went viral, I quickly got 500 orders within 24 hours.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. And so when you got those 500 orders, I mean, what did it feel like?
Honestly, at first I was just really seeing that my video was going viral, and it's cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen so many numbers, but I actually had work that day. I worked at an ice cream shop at the time. So I actually went to work, and then when I came back, my dad and my mom, they have always been the ones helping me with this business. And they logged in, and we had saw some orders and stuff. They had really logged into our, backside of our website.
The back end.
Yeah, so the back end. So when I came home from my, shift at the ice cream place, it's like 10, 11 at night.
It's home from work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's summertime, so I was there late. And when I came, and I'm like, my parents, like, I'm like, why do they look weird? Like, they look like in shock. And it's like, there's over 500 orders in the queue. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I do, but I was just like, what does that mean we need to do? Because I just came back from scooping mint chocolate chip ice cream, and now we're going to have
500 orders to fill.
Exactly. So I was like,
good problem to have.
It really is. Yeah, I was overwhelmed at first, no, I was excited. I was ecstatic. But, it was overwhelming because I'm like, I want to meet, you know what I mean? Like, meet expectations of all these people. So, yeah, that's how I felt in that first moment.
That's awesome. But it goes to speak to being, when we jumped on, we were talking about preparation. But see, a lot of times people think is that overnight success. And you're the example where people will think, oh, you just had this overnight success, but you said you started from 2017. Yeah. But for what, 3 years, there was nothing really happening. You had your one sale here and there, but for 3 years, it was just hit and go, sale here, sale there. And then all of a sudden, you know, and you go to work and come home, scoop the ice cream all day and come home, and you had 500 orders in queue. Speak to that for people who are thinking, okay, I'm doing, but it's not working. Maybe I should just give up on it. And I mean, it depends on, you know, what's going on, because there's this whole thing about having realistic expectation. But speak to that for people who are doing their thing, they're doing their side hustle, but it's not turning around the way they would expect it to, based on your experience.
Yeah, so businesses definitely take years to develop. And I experienced that firsthand. And I felt, and what I was bringing up earlier about having like a foundation, those 3 years, even 5, because I still feel like this is even part of my foundation as well.
Right.
And in different aspects as I'm going, like it's always going to kind of build on top of that. But it, like people think, you know, like, oh, a month is the foundation. Like, no, it takes years. And I was so glad that I had things like that. I had an email, that I had a website, that I had all this stuff. Like all of my social media accounts had the same, you know, Instagram name and like stuff like that. Like there are just certain things that's people want to see from businesses to trust them.
Right.
And when you're well developed, people will trust you and people start buying from you, because people could easily have went to Walmart and bought some chapstick. I mean, I'm sure they already had some.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it was because they saw, oh, this is a good idea. It's well developed. I'm going to her website and it looks professional, looks nice. It looks like she took time on it.
Progressing and moving on. Right.
Exactly. So it's like, it does really, like you said, take preparation in order to really reap the benefits. But I mean, if anything, the longer that you do work on it, you know, the more that it'll come back to you. Like karma, you know, you put all that good energy out and it will come back to you.
Come back to you. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So speaking in that same vein, what if about maybe you did 2017, if you had gotten that 500 orders in 2017, what do you think would have happened at the time?
That would have been it. Meaning then I probably would have felt like I was, you know, so amazing, that my company was so great, that instead of, you know, learning, I would have thought like, oh, like I already know it, I'm already good, all that stuff. And not to say, because I'm sure there are people who have, that has happened and they've like progressed, but it's not like that for everyone. It's kind of like a one-hit wonder, you know, someone that's like, oh, they just got it easy right out the gate. And it's like, that's all great, and that's a fun story. But it's not realistic in the way that you can ensure longevity. So if that's what you want, if you want to be a business for a while and you want to reap the benefits of that, it takes a long time. It's not one, two,
not overnight. It's putting in the work and the hard work, sometimes tears, right?
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
Sleepless nights also. It's not going to be just throwing something out there and then have that return. Okay, that's awesome. All right, so tell us about Chapstick. I mean, first of all, how did you come up with the name? I have a couple of samples here. So I'm just showing the samples. So I have here Chapstick, and of course that we're going to talk about the flavors. But before we jump into some of the flavors, tell us about the name. How did you come up with the name?
Yeah, so the name is really the entire concept. It's the entire business, basically. The name is the most important thing. And it actually was an accident, complete accident. I had no intentions of being an entrepreneur. I had no idea what owning a business meant at 17. When I came up with chopsticks, or I should say really accidentally said the word chopsticks, I was in the car on the way to the movies with my friends. I had no intention of this becoming something that I'd be doing 4 years later at all. I really was just trying to say, try chapstick. And when it came out as chopstick, it's like, what a cute
so it was
name.
literally a slip of the tongue. And a slip of the tongue turned into a brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so and when did it become a business idea or a product idea?
That night when I told my parents, again, just as a joke, I was just kind of like, oh, like chapsticks, like, wouldn't this be fun if we had this flavor and we had that flavor?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, let's do it. So that night they made me come up with the logo and my colors and come up with other names and, look up all this stuff. And I was honestly just kind of like, I just intended to go to the movies with my friends and then
Right.
go home. Like, I had no intention of like developing a business.
Right.
So at like 10 p.m. at night with my parents. So
Now creating a business name, business plan, and the whole work. Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, over time with the experience, what has it been like? Because I know a lot of times we are building, no matter what it is we're
Mhm.
building, and we try to do things by ourselves. We try to
Mhm.
do things in our strength. No community, no support. What has it been like to have parents who have supported your ideas and been helping you, along the way?
Yeah, so it's been part of a lot of my success. I'm going to be honest, like it is very helpful to have parents or just like supporters in general who can
Right.
help me in, like financial ways. Like, there's a lot of business costs, startup costs, and all that stuff there, and just things that I didn't know. Like, I had never had a business before, so
Fine. So the legalities, all the
exactly.
stuff that they've been helping you with. Okay. And I mean, to date, what has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned so far about business and what you thought business, running a business was like?
I think that my biggest lesson is definitely that you have to continue to be consistent in your growth. Like, I believe that chopsticks is a great concept and a great idea,
Right.
but every day I have to like think about, you know, how can I make sure that I am being consistent with
And
growing.
improving and growing the brand, right?
Improvement, exactly, like, it's really an everyday thing because part of my especially my concept is about, kind of like trends, like what's popular
Right.
with all that. So, like, you really have to keep up with, like, what can I do better? And that's with everyone, there's
Right.
always improvement. I'm sure even when you
Right.
go into the store, it's
Right.
like, "Oh, they need to put some lights. I can't see back here," because people have opinions, so you have to
Right.
at least, take yourself out of the, I guess, CEO position and think of, like, as a consumer, like,
Sure.
what can
Right.
improve? And one of the things that we did was, the logo, we started changing the logo. So, like, if people order, they'll probably see the new logos now, but
Okay.
I made like the outline, or my dad, yeah, we're trying to update all that stuff. So
Okay.
basically the logos are the same. It's just the outline makes it pop. And it's just stuff like, it's like little things like that.
Just the little things just to enhance the brand and create that whole overall brand experience and grow. And of course, that's what you're going to see, like you said, over the years as you grow, you learn and you see things and you start making that improvement. So your brand is a living thing, huh? A living thing. See,
Mhm.
because I'm a brand strategist, and
Yeah.
most of the time people don't realize your brand is going to evolve. Your goal or your mission may not change, or you may tweak that as you go,
Mhm.
but your brand will evolve as the business owner
Exactly.
grow and as your audience grows. So tell us a bit about, before we get into any other questions, just tell us a bit about the flavor. So I have here, I have the J Cola,
Yes.
um, and this one is the lemon M,
Mhm.
right? And then of course I have the Gucci mango. My daughter
Mhm.
she is on, from the time I got these, she's been dying to put her hands on her lips on these chapsticks, and I've been like having to weigh her off. Tell us
Mhm.
about the flavors and
Yeah.
how do you come up with the flavors and the names and everything? Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So it's actually funny. You have one of the, like, first, you have the very first flavor which that I came up with, which is Gucci mango.
Oh, that's the
But
very first flavor. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
that's the very
cool.
first, the idea that I came up with. I also came up with Nicki Minaj, but the concept is that, I combine artists. At first, it was strictly trap artists, and trap is a very popular genre based in Atlanta, of course.
Right.
I mean, it's just really an extension of rap music and hip hop, but it's what's specific about trap is like, oh, that's like kind of like an Atlanta thing. So
Right.
of course, me being from there, like, it was important that I, included some people, and especially that my first flavor was also in Atlanta.
Oh, your first
Um,
order. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
which is Gucci Mane. So All the other flavors, like all of them have a, artist name and flavor combination.
Right.
And people suggest me stuff all the time, and I love when they suggest me things. But what is specific about my brand, it's the names and the flavors have to flow together.
Right.
So there are oftentimes when people think I choose flavors or artists because they're things that I like, and I'm like, no, the names and the flavors kind of, they choose themselves. Like
Right.
Gucci Mane, he made Gucci Mane, but that mango just fits with it. Like it has nothing to do. I don't think Gucci, I don't know, maybe Gucci Mane hates mangoes, because people ask me
Right.
like, is it about like the artists themselves and what they like? And not necessarily.
Right.
So it's just important to me that the names and the flavors really flow together. So it's not kind of like you're forcing
The forces, so you kind of have somewhat of a process that really you work through
yeah.
and get in those and how many flavors do you have now in the line?
We have 26. Some of them are holiday edition flavors. We started leaving the holiday edition ones kind of as regular flavors that you can access,
Right.
because I used to get so many comments like, can you bring this back? And it's like, but it's not Christmas time, or it's not this
Right.
time. So we just started leaving them. This is the first year where you can actually go and look at
And
the,
still purchase them. Okay.
yeah, but
Okay.
they
So
are called holiday
maybe that
edition.
people will be able to purchase year through or just
Yeah.
limited?
Well, at first it was supposed to be limited,
Okay.
but Little Pumpkin and A Cookie with a Hoodie. Little Pumpkin's the holiday, I mean the Halloween one, and then the A Cookie with a Hoodie is the Christmas one. And
Cute
so we got,
names.
thank you. We got so many requests to keep them regular. We just decided that it was okay, but they still say on the actual
Right.
label holiday edition, but
Holiday
it's
edition.
not necessarily
Right.
limited anymore.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so I have this whole phrase about being fabulous and fearless. We do have teaching my 9-year-old entrepreneurship. So of course
Mhm.
she has a boutique and stuff that we are working together as a way for her to grow and
Yeah.
teaching her entrepreneurship from early. And with that name, for us that means it's all about cultivating confidence. So I had her started because as a way to build her confidence
Mhm.
and helping her when it comes to overcoming fear and defining success, in her own right and in her own way. Tell me, for me, what does being fabulously fearless for you? Because here you are, a young entrepreneur building a brand, and going through all the different stuff and the pain, that we go through as entrepreneur. I know it's not easy. You have school, because
Mhm.
you're going to you're going to college, and your major does not sound like something that it sounds like something that's very heavy. So
Yeah.
tell us how you're managing all of that stuff, and what does being fabulous and fearless for you means, and how you're handling the pressures of building a brand, um a successful brand, because you're growing and handling school and being a young lady or young woman in the process.
Yeah, so like we were talking about before, preparation is very important. If you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail, basically.
Right.
And I think it's also important to emphasize that when I did have, all this preparation, it was before I got into college.
Right.
So I don't know necessarily how it would have been for me had I had to kind of do both. But that's also why I'm such an advocate for young entrepreneurs, because the time is now. Like, you're young, so you definitely have time to do stuff, but it's like there's no better time. Like I have never had so much, like I thought I didn't, really have that much energy and stuff, but now that I'm like, it's 4 years later and I'm like, oh no, back then it's like I
Right.
could have juggled the whole world on my back. Like,
Right.
and as you get older, like I started seeing that, because I'm like, oh, I'm forgetting things. I need to take my vitamins so I can get my memory back or something. But it's serious, and that's why I want, and that's why I do like a lot of volunteer work with schools, especially if they have business programs,
Right.
to talk to them and just really encourage them, especially since I did start in high school, and just to show
Right.
them like it's not too early. It's not,
Right.
childish, like it's not weird, whatever. And that's going back to your fabulous and fierce. That is like really important, like to really tell yourself, like, and remind yourself that what you're doing is cool, like, and what you're doing is great, and that, you put your effort out there. And like
Right.
we said earlier, like it'll come back. Because honestly, part of the reason why I also feel my business really didn't do anything the first 3 years is because I was in high school, I was insecure. Like, I'm like, what are all the kids gonna think about me? I'm like, I'm over here selling lip balm. Like, is that gonna be weird? Is that gonna be this, that? And now I can guarantee no one is thinking whatever they thought in high school, that's what they thought.
That's
But now I'm here, yeah, and I'm 21, and like I'm talking with you now because of something that I came up with then.
right.
So really that positive self-talk that you're talking about
Uh-huh.
is big for anything. Like if you're starting a business, if you're going into an interview, if you're going into doing anything, like it's just important
Exactly.
to like be your own cheerleader and just know that at the end of the day, you got you. So that's
Exactly.
all you
Better
need.
himself. Awesome. That
Mhm,
well said. Okay, so and talking about that, touching back a little bit about
mhm,
that confidence, because you said, you came up with this idea and you had this whole imposter syndrome thing going on in your
mhm,
head. Okay, who's gonna want to purchase, this from me? What are people gonna say about my idea? People gonna
mhm.
think it's silly. Talk to us a bit about if you know I guess confidence. I guess you've learned confidence is not something that comes naturally. For some
Mhm.
people it may or may not. So is it something that comes naturally, or is it something that you have had to work on? Because you said in high school you had that, in the back of your head, okay, what are people going to think? um is it something that you have had to work on even to today, even as someone being successful building your brand? Is it still something you have to work on?
Yeah, so I definitely feel there are some people in this world who are just born confident, have always been confident. Love that for them. It was not me. So I did have to build that confidence. And I don't know how to explain it, but in high school, it's really hard. It's really
Right.
hard to put yourself out there.
Right.
And I honestly, one thing that my dad really told me, and he told me this even kind of like, because I used to play basketball. Basketball was my life before chapsticks.
Okay.
So that was me. That was going to 6 a.m. practices type thing. So my dad, would always be like, like these are your teammates, but you're still competing with each other. So
Right.
he was always like, just keep an eye out for people. And with having customers and things like that, if you try to sell to kind of like people that
Right.
you're gonna quickly find out that they're not your audience, and they
Right.
might be the people holding you back. So if you are doing a business, not to say that there's supporters or like
Right.
there's people who are going to support you, day one type thing. But when you are building your brand and building a business, you have to think about who is your audience. Sometimes it is not going to be the person you're sitting next to on
Next
the
to.
bus.
Right.
So
Exactly. So that
and that's
sounds
where
like
you
that.
get your confidence from, because you're gonna realize like it's not a bad idea. It's just they're not my
Your
audience.
audience. Awesome. See, that's a good lesson to learn early. And that's the thing. One of the things I teach my clients is that, if you're selling, you need to kind of determine who it is you're selling to, who is your ideal audience, because it can't be everyone. And if you're selling to
Mhm,
everyone, you're pretty much selling to no one, basically. And
exactly.
that may be the problem. It might be for you to take the time to figure out who is my audience. Initially, you'll start out, and that becomes research for you, because over time, you'll kind of figure it out. Okay, it's not this person here, it's not that person there, but it's that person over there. So it
Mhm.
sounds like Daddy gave you some great advice. Um, where do you think is the most important area as a business owner to focus your energy when it comes to business? So now that you're starting to get in the swing of things as a business
Mhm.
owner, what is one area that you think is very vital to focus your energies?
Yeah, so definitely if you have a product specifically,
Uh-huh.
product development is very important, because you could have definitely great marketing, great foundation, great, social media presence, all that. But when they get them products, if it's bad, they're not going to be wrong to say that it's bad. The
Right.
pictures may be cute, and I'm sure that they are, but make sure that your product is developed and that it's done well and it's with good quality. But for things that are not, product based, I definitely do think that your marketing and social media type of presence is very important, because with the kind of the flip side, people aren't going to buy your products if your picture's blurry, if
Exactly. Okay. So
yeah.
fashion and the marketing. So marketing is important in terms of, attracting and getting them to kind of, it's like dating, flirting with them.
Exactly. It's like a
And
Tinder
then the
profile.
brand experience now becomes the reason they ask you back for that second date. So they'll come first, they'll see you, okay, I like you, let me try you. And then it'd be, in terms of like a relationship metaphor. And then it's like, okay, am I gonna ask her back on the next date? Okay, let me see, how the experience is. And so in a sense, you're saying, while the marketing and having the great website and the products are good, also it's important, the experience, the overall experience is also important. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, and what's one major obstacle you have had to overcome to become the person or the young lady you are today?
Yeah, so definitely we were talking about that confidence of putting yourself out there. I almost did not post that video that started all of this kind
Right,
of domino effect of my life. And I genuinely was not going to post it because I just felt like, oh, like I don't really like the video, like I look weird, like da, da, da. Like I was just over analyzing myself.
right,
And honestly, it really didn't matter how ugly I looked in the video because it was good. Like, you know what I mean? Like what that little image that I had of myself was my reality, but it wasn't the reality. It wasn't what
right.
everyone else was seeing. And it honestly wasn't even the point of the video. So I
Okay,
could have been in my, robe with my bonnet on if I really wanted to, because
right,
what people were when people saw my video, the content that I gave them, like, oh, like this is my business, like that
right,
was what was important. And I just need to step out of that. Other people were going to overanalyze me just because I did it
right.
to myself.
Because you do that to yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of thing that we have young youths or young ladies, especially
Yeah.
today. We get on social media, and while social media is great, in your case, for the most part, it helped you to be able to market and helped you to grow your brand. It also has that negative side where we are looking at what other people are doing, what they look like, and a lot of times that is not reality. And so
Mhm.
we overanalyze ourselves when we shouldn't, instead of focus on the things that we need to focus on. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, and your mom and dad, I mean, what are they like now? I mean, now 3, 4, 5 years,
Yeah.
2017. How are they feeling about what's happening with the brand, and what role do they play?
Yeah, so they are super involved. They're just as involved with me, with just as involved as me with the
Right,
brand. And they love that the three of us have figured out a way to really keep this brand alive until that point of
right,
when it went off. And like I said, they are crucial parts of my brand now. There are people that I know and that I mutuals that I follow on my accounts and stuff that
right,
they're doing 100% by themselves, and they're doing an amazing job. Need to take
right,
tips from them as well. But my parents have been such a big help. It's been really important that I've had that support system, especially at that time when I was kind of feeling like, I don't really think I want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the chopsticks girl. I just want to be, I just want to be a Howard student or whatever.
right.
So yeah, they've always been, it's I know that I'm the face and I know that this is my business and I came up with it, but they're kind of like the other legs on the table as well.
Okay, understand of that. Okay, and what advice do you have to give? Well, let's talk about an advice you have to give yourself first, because where you are now is not where you started.
Mhm.
And you said, 17-year-old back in college. What advice would you give that 17-year-old young lady that came up with this initial idea, that had all these doubts, that all that self-confidence issue? What advice would you give her?
I would really have told myself that the opinions of other people aren't, like, they're not Bible, they're not fact. Like, everyone's going to have their opinion,
Right,
and that also means that there are good ones out there. If you're surrounding yourself with people that you feel like are giving you bad opinions on something that you think is a good idea,
right,
change your friend group
right,
quickly. because just surround yourself with people that are supportive. Now, I don't want people that are just, blind sheep that are just telling me something's good, but I don't want people to make me feel insecure and kind of like make some remarks and stuff like that. So my advice honestly would have been, you don't have to, tell your friends about this stuff. And if anything, that evil eye, don't tell everybody everything. So I would have just really been like, find the people who are going to like the idea, and you'll do that by putting yourself out there and by being confident when putting yourself out there. And that is hard, but when you're doing it in front of strangers, they don't know you from anything. So it's really fake it till you make it until it becomes your reality, because it will.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. What other advice do you think? Because I know you said you do work with kids in school in terms of entrepreneurship programs and stuff like that. And what one advice that maybe you have gotten and that you would want to share that you think is so priceless that you have to share that with someone too?
Yeah, I think especially the advice that I give to the kids, because they're also usually trying to take advantage of the whole social media thing. And I tell them that all the time, like, if you're trying to find a bunch of people, the internet's the first place to look,
Right.
And I tell them like consistency was the hardest part for me, because I did have imposter syndrome, and even sometimes you still feel like it, because it's like, when I was posting consistently in the very beginning, I was just like, yes, like people are seeing it. But of course, like TikTok is not a forever thing. Like I'm not gonna get a million views on everything. So I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like this one got this many and this one got that much. Like
don't get hung up on the views all the time.
Exactly. And just like that made me stop being consistent. And it's like, it's not about the individual video views or the individual post likes and all that. It really is about being consistent, because at the end of the day, like if you keep posting, people are going to keep seeing it, and you'll find your audience again. And trust me, you'll have another viral post, but it's not really important. But they'll come, especially with being consistent, because if you do want those things, you can't just post once a week.
Right. You got to create a schedule and be consistent with that. Awesome. Okay, cool. And share, let's see, one thing that you'd want to share with either, whether a professional or an entrepreneur, someone who's looking to transition to entrepreneurship, or maybe even just figure out a way how to tap into, the thing that they're good at, or the thing that comes naturally easy to them. One thing that you can share that they could implement right away to help them, whether it be social media, because, right now you're like the TikTok queen, but you're having great success with your brand, on TikTok, and that's actually the platform that really kind of did it for you. So share, a tip or something or a social media tip or something that, someone can utilize that will help, maybe, whether it, like you said, whether it is their consistency or maybe just their progress, or that doubt that they have about maybe posting that video of themselves, because for a while for me, that was the thing. So now it's like, okay, I got to build that video content. So, share something as it relates to that, probably, that they can use to implement into either making their social media better, or their video content, or, their confidence for video better.
Yeah, so the main thing, and this is also like what I credit my first video going viral being a success to. I was a consumer before a content creator.
Right.
So, I have my little personal account where I like my own videos and have my own For You page, but I also have my business account. And with having watched TikTok for months now, you don't really have to watch TikTok for months. I just didn't think to put my business account on there. But I had been watching TikTok for months at that time, especially in the pandemic. I was probably watching hours, like 8 hours a day of TikTok probably during that time. So I knew the trends. I knew what was cool. I knew it was like, oh, that's, it's not TikTok etiquette. Like you learn those things by just being a consumer.
Right.
So I always tell people, because a lot of people are always like, oh, I don't have TikTok. Like I need to get on there. And I'm like, do you have an account now. Like, do you do, like, if I'm talking to my friend Jessica, do you have an account? If Jessica tells me no, I'm like, then you don't need to get your business on there, because
Right.
you don't even know the kind of I guess vibe that TikTok has. So you need to go
Right.
on there and look on there. I don't condone, sitting on your phone for hours and hours, but if it's for productive reasons to, get some intel, get some insight
Right.
about TikTok
Do
so
the
that you
research,
can
right?
post. Exactly. That's
I have a
important.
profile, but I have not been paying much attention. Like TikTok, my daughters, they live on my older one. She lives on
Mhm.
TikTok. She's always sending me these little clips,
Yeah.
especially I'm from the Caribbean. So there
Mhm.
are, and as a Jamaican parent, she'll send me these little TikTok
Video.
reels about Jamaican parents and stuff. So I do that. So I haven't been tapping much into that, but that's something I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this whole TikTok thing out.
Mhm.
So maybe I can just chill over and go, okay, some tips here. But
Yeah,
I get it. Pay attention, do the research, and learn the platform, because not every platform is the same.
exactly.
What you do on LinkedIn is not what you're going to do on Facebook or what you do on TikTok. So
Mhm.
that's some great advice. So tell us what's next.
Yeah, so I'm always coming out with new flavors. That's kind of like my, almost daily, thing. I always am taking suggestions and stuff, and I always have flavors that I want to make. But what I hope definitely is next for me is to be in more retail based stores, not just me doing online orders. I'm of course gonna
Okay.
continue doing that, but I hope I always joke about my goal being to be in Target, and that's gonna be my goal until I hit
And
it.
I'm going to be seeing your target soon.
Yeah, exactly. That's gonna be my goal until I hit it. But
Mhm.
I hope starting off, beauty supply stores, and I actually did do that when I very, very first started, but I didn't have any reputation to be asking people to put my products in their,
Right.
beauty supply stores. But now I hope that's going to be my thing. I'm doing my first pop-up shop at my school
Awesome.
on the 25th. So that's going to be kind of like my first experience, like really like standing somewhere and like people coming up to me, and instead of just being on a screen and then them
Being on the
clicking on
screen,
their.
right? Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
after that, I'll kind of see like, maybe I'll do more pop-up shops, maybe I'll have a kiosk at the mall, things like
Okay.
that, and continue to move up until I get to Target.
Get to Target. Awesome. That's a
Yeah.
great thing to do. So hopefully I'll be walking in Target and I'll see traps
Yeah.
and understand. I was like, oh,
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
am
you're
a
gonna be so
sister.
lucky because
To
you're
be
already
like
gonna be
that.
hit. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So do you want to share how people can our audience can reach you? Your handles, your website.
Yes, so my website is Chapsticks, and it's spelled Trapstix, lipbalm.com. And that's also all of my uh, social media handles as well. It's just Chapsticks Lip Balm on anywhere, mostly Instagram, Facebook, and of course TikTok. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, I always try to answer like, business related DMs. Some people ask me questions about my business. That's not what I mean. No, I'm just kidding. It depends on the question, but most of the time, like, when people ask me stuff like advice, I love to answer. So you can either DM me on Chopsticks, you can email me at contact@chopstickslipbalm.com to email me, or my personal Instagram, which is Aysia Nicole. It's Aysia, and then Nicole with 3 E's at the end. I also
Okay.
answer that. Yeah,
Okay,
that.
awesome.
All that.
That's my name. I love the name Nicole.
Yes, of course. I was gonna say that. I already knew.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So it was fabulous talking to you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your brand. Now I can actually tell my daughter she can actually go ahead. I'll at least try to keep one for myself,
Right,
because I know she's been like dying to get her hands and her lips on those
right.
on them. I wish you all the success going forward, on top of what you already have, and you are gonna keep doing well and keep doing fabulous. Thanks again for sharing with us, and going to keep a tabs on you. I'm going to share her social media handles and website in the comment section so that you guys can check her out, and be sure to support a young sister.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all the people who watched.